Uh,
Um, Texas is
Texas.
where I remember the story starting.
All right.
So let's just take it from the top, I guess. And
All
uh,
right.
would you introduce yourself for us?
I can introduce myself. My name is Juan Maldonado. I am uh, now in the insurance business, but you want me to go back and start where the beginning of my story.
Yes, please.
All right. I am one of six children, three boys and three girls. I'm in the middle, number three. Uh, my two brothers are gone, so now I'm the only son and the only boy, I guess, and my three sisters. And we grew up born in South Furious, Texas, then moved to Corpus Christi, Texas, where we grew up. I uh, I started school there. I went to elementary, middle school, junior high, whatever they call it now, and then I graduated from school with W.B. Ray High School. And then the thing that we used to do, or the thing to do in Corpus Christi, Texas, was if your parents had money, you would go to college. And if they didn't, you would go in the Marine Corps. So I was one of the latter.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in the Marine Corps. I signed up, and for some reason, they wanted to do like a Texas platoon. So I grabbed a file with a bunch of, or a folder with a bunch of files, rather, and we flew into, I think I remember we went from Corpus Christi to Dallas and picked up some more people there. And then I think we did two or three stops. And when we got to San Diego, California, I had the folder with all the files. And then I started to, um, there was a drill instructor yelling at me. I said, "What in the heck did I do?" So one of his questions was, "And who are you? Private what?" I said, "Private Maldonado." And he called me, I don't know other words, but I think I got, "From now on, you're private malfunction or private Maldonado nothing." I don't, one of those.
One of the
And he
two.
said, "Give me the files." And so I did. And then we went through the routine of the Marine thing. They make you can't walk, you got to run. Everything is running.
Mm-hmm.
We got set up and we got a bucket drill or a bucket issue, they called it. And I remember getting a pair of shoes that were like size 13. Now we're like 11. And I said, you could hear the drill instructor just yelling. And I said, "I can't take these back." And the guy says, "Put them on." So I felt like Sat Sack. I had 13, size 13 shoe. But anyway, and then later on that night, we had got a haircut and they bust our head. I didn't know. I couldn't tell what they were doing, but it was the people that were cutting hair were Marines, I guess, but they had a little time in. So they shaved my head and they left me a little mohawk. I had no idea because we had no mirrors. So I ran outside. He said, "Turn around, go back." I said, "Hey, now what?" So anyway, we did the Marine Corps, and then I think I shared with you last time that when we went through boot camp, there was some college dropouts and a whole bunch of high school people, and we're all from Texas, all over Texas. And the drill instructors had a lot of fun because when we were in the grinder, instead of saying "platoon halt," it was the other drill instructor would say "whoa mob," like a Texas thing.
So
So anyway,
what's the
the
grinder you were
rifle.
talking about?
Yeah, we went to the rifle range and all that stuff, and then in the interim, we did some testing, and I think I was one of the four people that could go
Mm-hmm.
to college, and we'd have the only bad thing was we had to re-enlist right then and there, and we were going to go to pilot school or pilot training, flying school. And the simple question, I said, what happens if my eyes aren't good enough, or what happens if I don't make it? He said, well, you still have to serve your time. So I don't remember, but I think none of us signed up for it. So we went through the regular training, and to get your stripe from boot camp, you need to be a front guide, the one that carries the flag, or squad leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't big enough to do any of those. So there was one more thing that you could get your stripe, and they used to call it the house mouse. What the house mouse did was the paperwork. That's right up my alley. I know how to do that. And the drill instructors weren't that cool. So I'd make the reports, I'd make the numbers and all that. So I was house mouse. Yes, sir. So I did everything. And so then we moved on to advanced training, and we got out of there. And Marine Corps was good to me. I was stationed in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left Hawaii and ended up here in Seal Beach, California.
Which island were you stationed on?
I was stationed in Oahu.
Gorgeous.
Oahu,
Mm-hmm.
the main island. I think I don't know what Oahu would be. Pearl Harbor, that area there. And we were stationed there. We were the 4th Marines, and I was MOS was 0100, which was office.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that because I could get my buddies and myself to do all the new stuff that was coming out. I think I was one of the guys that fired the machine gun when it first came out from a helicopter. We tied up. It's like we do now. We pay money to go do stuff,
Mm-hmm.
training and all that, but they used to pay us. Not much, but it was pretty cool. So I did my time in Hawaii. From Hawaii, we went to. We didn't ever get to go to Vietnam, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Guam, and we built a church for the Catholics. They had a typhoon that hit in 1962, I believe. I went in 1961.
Mm-hmm.
So 1962, we did the typhoon. We built the church and all that. So then we came back, and then from when I finished my 2 years in Hawaii, I got stationed in Seal Beach, California. And you go by there all the time. You don't even know it's there, but it's right off. It's actually in Seal Beach, California, right by Long Beach. Pretty cool. It's a little town, and I got discharged there. I ended up working at I love working at the what they call the NCO bar,
Mm-hmm.
cocktails or whatever. I used to wear my white shirt, and I didn't have much hair then, but I asked the ladies that used to work at the base. We had civil employees, and I knew they were 30, 40, 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I would come up to them and I would say, hey, I need to see your ID, please. They go crazy. They go, what? I can't serve you until I see your ID. So they look in the purse and give me their IDs. And then he says, come here, little boy, or whatever. They called me, and I put $1 in my pocket. Man, that was a lot of money back then. But, you got to work it. So then I got discharged and went back to Corpus Christi, where I was from. And the idea was, or the question was, should I go back to school? I said, I can't go back to school because I'll be going to school with 4 years of my juniors, younger. I said, I gotta get out of here. So I tried out for the police force, and that's the only thing I knew how to do. So I tried out for the police force, and every week we had 4 weeks in a row, we had a test, and I passed them all until the last one. The last test was that we started with 1,000 people. We ended up with less than 100.
Mm-hmm.
But the last test was the face-to-face interview.
Mm-hmm.
You get interviewed by the actual chief of police and a couple other, and they liked everything I did, and they but I was in the top But the person that there's only one hiree, and the one that got hired he was already a policeman for a little town.
Mm.
He moved in, and I went to the chief of police and said, I'd just like to know how I did. He said, excellent. He said, but you never make it the first time. It's going to take you at least 3 times, maybe even 4. So that made my mind to say, okay, I'm out of here. So I came to California. My buddy and we came in, and I started working at a aircraft plant graveyard, which midnight to 8 in the morning. Then I went to college full time, and it was cool. I mean, I was all because I didn't do much at night. I did all my homework and stuff during. I get paid for it. I made parts for the airplanes, and a lot of it was putting them in the oven, checking them in, waiting for them to develop. So that went well, and then going on to my journey here. So then I was with my cousin, and we were looking at a church bulletin, and I saw a girl that had a beehive, and her name was Mary Kennedy. I said, "Oh, wow." I told my cousin, I said, "I'm going to marry her." He said, "You're crazy. You don't even know her." So anyway, that started, and then I knew where she. I was staying in Garden Grove, and back then there was a plant called Randolph Rubber Company where they made tennis shoes. And my cousin was the warehouse superintendent or something. And he says, "Well, I don't know her, but her mom works there." And then I found out she was doing the answering the phone and type when she was going to high school. And I said, "Wow." So my brother came from Corpus Christi. He joined the Marine Corps, but he was off for the summer. I don't know how they did it back then. He says, he needs a job. My mom said, "I can't handle your brother. Your brother." I said, "I send him down." So got him a job at Randolph Rubber Company through my cousin, and then I get a phone call on a Monday morning, and it was her. She said, "My name's Mary Kennedy. I need to speak to Jesse Maldonado." I said, "Wait a second." I said, "You're the girl I'm going to marry." And next thing I know, I hear a dial tone. Oh my God, she hung up on me. So anyway, we went forward, and he got the job, and he worked the summer, and then he went to the Marine Corps. So going back to Mary, after I met her, finally, I think I heard she said, "Oh, I'll give him one date." Her mother really liked me because she says, "He's a Texan, he's out of the Marine Corps, he's got a brand new car, and he's got a lot of money." I didn't have money, but I still remember my first date with her. I pulled up long driveway, and there was a Pontiac parked in the front with a long driveway. So I said, I'll just park on the street. So I parked on the street. Next thing I know, I knocked on the door, and they threw me a pair of keys. And she says, "Move my car." What? Move my car? I said, "Okay." So I put the key on, and it wouldn't start. I said, "Oh my God." So what am I going to do now? So it finally started. I thought, thank God. So I pulled it back. I came in and went in and made friends with the mom. Really liked me. She didn't. Mary didn't. So I double dated with a buddy of mine that I met through college, and still around. So we went double dating, and then we came home, and Mary says, "I can't stand him." Nah, you're gonna marry him. Mom said. I said, "Oh my God." So anyway, fast forward that, and we did get married a year or so later, and we had our own wedding. We got married in Disneyland Hotel, and we paid for our own. As we didn't want to bother. We didn't have any money, so we worked. We were both working, and we made money, and we had the wedding. We lived in Garden Grove for a year. Then we bought our first house in Huntington Beach, and then I was still working. I was working. Well, I forgot to tell you that while I was not stationed or discharged from Seal Beach, California. I went back to corporate, tried for the police force, didn't make it. So then I came back. I got a job there. I knew people. I got a job at the base, and that'll be my career. And then I went to Europe on a TAD, temporary assigned duty, and got back, and they had a big cutback. So I said, oh, as fast as I went up in promotions, I got laid off. And I said, oh my God. So I said, cool. I'll go to law school now. I can go. So I was tired. We had a baby already. We had a house and 2 new cars. And I said, oh man, I can't go to law school. I can't take any more school. I'm so tired. So then I started reading these insurance ads. And I remember this company called Union Central. And I said, sounds like a railroad station. And I got 2 of them, I got a baby lead and a new house because I just had it both. The Prudentials, the Metropolitans, all the big companies were after me too. I got so much mail. Finally, I interviewed with Union Central, and the interview went very well, except the money part. I said, I'm making great money now, and then I'm GS something, whatever I was back then. And I said, I can't just take a big cut. He said, oh no, you don't take a cut. We'll give you a salary about $500 to $700 a month. If you get 2 sales, you make way more than what you. I said, I never sold anything in my life. I said, don't worry, we'll teach you. So that's where the Marine Corps comes back, and I get looking in the mirror every day as I got to quit this stuff. But I hung in there, and when I shaved, I says, you can't give up, dude. So I beat the streets, and I moved up a little bit, and I got promoted into management right away. And then I said, nah, I don't want this. I want sales. That's where the money. So then we moved. We stayed in moved offices and 70. That was 1970, and in 70, fast forward to 79. All the training, everything I had, I made my first year conference and all that. So then in 79, I said, I'm going on my own. So I opened up my own agency, and here we are now. Wait a minute, I'm skipping a lot of stuff, right? Where?
Just a little.
To stop in Texas, California. Where do you want me now?
I'd like to hear what happened kind of after you started Maldonado and Associates.
Okay, I started as an agent in an agency, and we had to go training. I mean, a lot of training, a lot of school and stuff. And that was in 70s, so 71 too went by, and I made conference, and I said, well, my goal was to just make conference every year, and that would take care of itself, everything. And the other thing, I said, I need to get educated, because the difference between a CLU and an agent is a lot, which is kind of the same thing as a CPA and a public accountant, or an accountant and a CPA. People would rather deal with a CPA. He's got your letters behind your name.
And what does CLU stand for?
CLU stands for Chartered Life Underwriter.
Okay.
And then
CLU.
About the same time, there were 10 parts. You have to test for every part. And once you get all 10 parts, then it's like a mini law school, I think, a mini test, a mini lawyer's test. But it has the legal and the all accounting and economics and everything. So once I got that, then the CHFC came, Chartered Financial Consultant, and all we had to do was add like 3 or 4 parts to that. So I got both of those degrees, and I did them through Pennsylvania from American College, and got that. And then in 79, I opened up my own agency. I had a staff and had people, and we grew together. And that's how my family started. We stayed in Huntington Beach for 8 years. Then we moved to, when did I buy there? 1976. We moved to Mission Viejo.
Okay.
We bought our first house there, a brand new house in the Madrid Homes in right above the country club.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to take this thing. I followed.
I totally forgot to record most of that. I am so embarrassed.
That's okay.
I had the start recording, and I just hadn't clicked on it. So I got a little too into your story, so I hadn't hit the record button. So we'll do a couple more questions, but
Okay.
I'll be able to summarize the story, just kind of in a brief. So
I should have recorded it. Gave you a copy.
yeah.
I'm not that good, Daniel. Come on.
Oh no, it was my bad. So if we could just do one more little blurb of the basics of your story, from going to the Marine Corps to school to getting into the insurance business and now where you are now. Just a brief recap.
Yeah, the recap is everything was built on a lot of things that made you want to quit, because if you look at the survivorship or the number of people that make it in this business is not very high.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's different. I mean, this last few years, and I know you're going to ask me what was my biggest fallback, or what would I do different now, and I just didn't do it. I knew I had to do it. And one of the things you have to do in my business is you have to reinvent yourself. You got to keep up with the times. And because I had enough, I took it easy.
Mm-hmm.
I took it easy too long, because here I am at my age now, and I said, why aren't you retired? I said, because I like what I do, and I can't retire because I got money coming in, and if I stop, then I'll have to stop get the retirement stuff. And I said, nah. But it's changing so much that rather than me reinvent myself, I hire somebody that can do it. And that's where my son comes in, Aaron, because he does a lot of electronic stuff, and we don't do any more paper stuff. And we don't do any in the insurance business. In the days, it was all paper. I mean, to do an application, there was stacks of paper, and it was all about writing. And now you press a button on the computer, and it's they call it e-apply. You know as well as I do. It's electronic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're coming from. But I just want to slide. I don't know how much time I got left, or I didn't even know I was going to make it this long. I got friends that are in their 90s. I said, hey, I don't feel too bad, but.
Well, that comes into the hard question of the interview.
Okay.
Which is, how do you want your story to end?
Oh, when you say, how do I want my story to end? Would that be, I'm out of here, or?
Well, it's when you're out of here, how do you want to be remembered?
I always use this little story about this, and I'm going to tell it to you anyway. You can take it off or whatever. But there was 3 people being interviewed, and the interviewer asked the one question that says, a little bit different the way you put it, but he says, what would you like people to say when you're gone? But let's say when they're viewing you. Mm-hmm. And one guy says, I was a good person. I was a good businessman. I had a business. I built from my garage, and I built the big business, and I hired a lot of people, a lot of relatives, and they all branched out. They did their. So long and the short, he says, I want people to say when they're viewing me, there lies a good businessman. Good. So the second guy said, Well, I was a good father, good grandfather, good everything. I was a good family man, and my kids grew up. They all got their degrees, bada bing, bada bang, and they did this, that, and another one, the long and the short. He says, I want people to say their lie is a good family man. And then the third guy, you were asking him a question. So the third guy, like me, would say, what would you want people to say when they're viewing you? And he looks up and he says, I want to hear, hey, I think he moved. Kidding, I'm kidding. Now that gives me time to
That's a good one, though.
no, that's not very cool, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. And I want to be the guy that moves a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I want to say, I hope, if I knew the word that I use a lot, Danny, is, when we're doing business, it could be a partnership, it could be a business transaction, buyout, whatever, and everybody's looking for the best model, the best product, the best project. And I would say, always, I got your dates of birth, but if you could give me your date of death, I can give you the best plan ever. Yeah, we could fund it, we could do this, that, but you can't. So I'm in the same boat now, and I'm saying, I got to have my ducks in a row because that's what I teach. That's what I preach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I do. And at some point, I changed it a lot because I said, I can't have everything smooth it for everybody. They have to work too. So the best one that I need to take care of is my wife. She's a little bit younger than me. And if it wasn't for her, I got inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2001. I mean, that's a big thing. And she pushed me a lot. And I remember her saying, you can't do that. I said, once I got in the Hall of Fame, he said, why is that? He said, because Hall of Famers don't do that, stuff like that. But that was one of my biggest things. And of course, being married was another thing, and the kids was another thing, and so on and so forth. But I would just like to be remembered, not the guy that moved, but combination of the first two.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I've been to so many funerals, Danny, and some of them I love because people didn't have anything bad to say about him. So that's kind of the guy that I want to be. I touched a lot of people. I've worked with a lot of people, but it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing is I can say to you is I don't know. I think I'm very healthy, but I don't know when the time comes. Yeah, that's what I want to be remembered.
Thank you, Grandpa Juan.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a couple more questions for you?
You bet.
Where do you find value every day?
Every day to me is used to be. You have something to do. Have somebody to stay in front of and bounce back and forth. If I can help somebody, if somebody can help me, I did my job that day, and but it just I want to keep going. I go to the gym a lot. I walk, and I don't have to do that, but I need to do that just to think, and but that's the thing that I look for every day, and if I get up in the morning, I say, well, it's another good day. Thank you, Lord. I'm out and about, but that's what I look for.
So,
Give.
yeah. Find something to do and find something to give, would you say?
That's it.
So let's see. What are you learning now?
What am I learning now?
Mm-hmm.
Is the thing that really hits me the most, Danny, is um, I don't know, and I think I'm kind of tired. But as long as I've lived and the things that I've done, I think I'm done. But I don't want to give up. I don't want to stop. And the other thing, on the other hand, is that I could be doing so much more. So where is the happy medium? And I don't know. I don't, maybe I don't care to know. But it's something that is hard to explain. People reach their goals, they're getting close to the goals, and then they're gone. So I don't know what that goal is. I mean, I remember back in the day in our business, it was our goal was to survive. And now these kids are having goals like, and they're doing it. But we were taught the same thing they are, but it's different, and it's that I'm looking for survival and just being there.
Mm-hmm. So
You look around, Danny. You look around, and in my age, you're losing a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you stop that? You don't. And my questions now, or my friends and my clients are saying, dude, we need to get together. I said, why is that? Because in a few months, I won't remember you. I won't even know who you are. I don't want to get to that point, but I think it's going to come sooner than later.
So learning to kind of find the joy.
Maintain. Learning to, yeah. And, the best prescription in the world is laughter. You know that. I don't have to tell you all that.
You're a big proponent.
You need to be happy. You need to smile. You need to, we just got invited to a party, Mary and I, and he says, what do we need to take? Blah, blah, blah. I said, nothing, just bring a lot of laughter. I said, well, I can do that. And this is a good friend of mine's 80th birthday. And guess what? He's younger than I am.
All right. I think I got one more question for you.
Shoot.
What's your proudest failure?
My proudest failure?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question.
What failure has taught you the most, and that you look back at it and you say, I'm proud I did that. I'm proud I gritted through it.
Okay. That is a great question. And I didn't have much failure, as if you grasp what I was talking about a while ago, because I did enough to stay above water.
Mm-hmm.
But my biggest failure, I think, that I should have done was I should have kept on going when I was younger, my 60s, 50s, and reinvented myself and maybe open up another, kept it going. But instead, at that point, I started to downsize instead of being bigger, which I could have. But I that's what I kicked myself, in the rear for not doing that. So that, I think that would be my biggest failure. Along the line, I think I survived a little bit above.
And may I challenge you on that?
Yes.
So you said it was your biggest failure, but I'd like to know what your proudest failure is. Not necessarily your biggest failure. Something that when you look back on it, it may have seemed like a failure in the moment, but you look back on it with great pride.
Okay, so you're asking me that earlier in my career, not later.
Earlier or later.
Well, later was like I was saying. I said I should have reinvented myself and stuff, but I didn't. I got lazy. I hate to use that word loosely, but
I wouldn't describe you exactly as lazy.
Well, in our business, you need to keep up with your biggest clients, your stuff, and then you do what they got to do, and then they move on, we move on, and you got to replace them. You got to replace them, and that's what I didn't do. I don't think. There's so much you can do, and I belong to a couple of boards. And we have board meetings, and they say, well, Juan, you made it. You're done. I said, no, I'm done. I'm not done. But I heard proudest. Did you say proudest failure?
Proudest failure. Yeah. It's a bit of a weird question.
No, I get it. I get it. I don't know.
That's a perfect answer.
It's a great question. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
But I could start with one thing, end with another thing. As in that, I didn't want to go there. But
Well, I'm a little out of questions, and I'm sorry I messed up the recording earlier, but it was awesome to get some time with you, Grant.
well, you look good. You look like a professor back there. A while ago, I said you look
Thank
like
you.
a movie star.